Well, hello again, everyone. This morning, what I wanted to talk about in today's video is grey hair. And yes, you did hear me correctly. I do want to talk about grey hair. You might be thinking that's some pretty dicey territory to get into, but it's in the Bible, so that makes it okay. When you turn to the book of Proverbs, Proverbs is great. I'm really, over the years, I've really grown in my love for the book of Proverbs. And for the wisdom that's contained in there, actually the very rich gospel that's in there if we have eyes to see it. But there's a lot of general wisdom in the Bible and about how to live, in the book of Proverbs, and about how to live under God and how to value what God values and care about what God cares about and receive the wisdom of God and live by it. Now, as I said there, one of the discussions that happens throughout the book of Proverbs is talking about different age categories. It talks about the youth and the old man and so on. And one, in a couple of points, what comes up, as I say, is this discussion of grey hair. Grey hair meaning something, grey hair representing something or symbolising something in the life of a person. So first of all, in Proverbs chapter 16, it's a great chapter in Proverbs, but chapter 16 in verse 31, we read this, we read in verse 31, says, "Grey hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." Grey hair is a crown of glory. Now, I don't know how you feel about grey hair, if you have it or not, whether you would think of it in that way, as a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life. Now, what that's not saying is that every single person who is old and who's got to the point where they have grey hair has lived a righteous life. That's not necessarily the case. This is really written to, I suppose, written with the people of Israel in time at the mind, and some commentators even say it's maybe debatable, but that if, generally speaking, in the old covenant with the people of Israel, if they walked in God's ways and obeyed Him, they'd be blessed in different ways, and one of those ways for many of them was longer life, was having a long life. But it doesn't mean that every single person who is old has lived a righteous life, because we know that's not true. We certainly know that's not true. Certainly not in our world today and in everything that's going on. We know that's not true throughout history. Grey hair doesn't mean you are righteous, definitely. But the point is, perhaps this proverb is being aimed at people who are young, because there can be a danger of, or people who are old as well, but it can be very easy for us to despise, or at least not want to be old, and to want to be young, and to look young, and to feel young. And I think that's very true in our day to day, and in our culture. We tend to worship youth, or at least looking young and feeling young, and those things. In fact, not that long ago, I saw an advert, as you do, you see these shampoo adverts or hair dye adverts and all this kind of stuff. And this well-known actress was on, and she was recognised that her hair was going grey. And she said, "At first I thought I was ready for this. No, I'm not ready for this. I have to dye my hair so I don't have grey hair. And I don't care if people dye their hair or not. That's not the point. I'm not interested in that." But there was this... we get that message, don't we? We don't want to feel old. We want to put that off. We want to think of ourselves as younger. We want to look younger, and so on. And there's all these products that were advertised all the time to make us look younger and take away the signs of aging, because that's the worst thing we want to do, is to be seen to be looking old. And in a counter-cultural way, the book of Proverbs says, "Grey hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." So there can be those who get to that age and they've spent their whole life following the Lord and knowing Him. And that's a wonderful thing, to be at that stage and to still have sort of run the race and know the Lord and have all that wisdom to share and all that. That is a righteous person. All that experience of life and hopefully spiritual maturity. And in order to share that with others. And in a culture where we value, as I say, young and looking young and youth being everything, and trying to pretend that we're young as well, that can sometimes be a danger. Now, if you flip over to chapter 20 as well, in verses 29, we read, verse 29 of chapter 20, we read, "The glory of young men is their strength, but the splendour of old men is their grey hair." Again, so we've seen grey hair described as a crown of life, and here it's described as a splendour. And the hope is that those who are older and those who are righteous, and I think we should think about that for the church today as well, that we see great value in older folks, and we see some a wonderful thing. They're especially people who have followed the Lord for so many years and have been through many trials and have been through all the ups and downs of life and all the experiences that we expect to come across, that have worked, that have married, that have had kids, that have had grandkids, maybe even great grandkids, who knows, but who have been served in the church for a long time, and who have lived in the world and had all kinds of experiences that they, as holy people, as righteous people, would be able to distill some of that to younger people. So the message to the younger is to say, do not despise the elderly, do not look down on them. It's often said in other cultures where the elderly are really revered and respected in many ways. And I think we could do with more of that, couldn't we? We could do more of looking to especially older saints to learn and to observe them and to watch them, assuming that they are godly and holy and righteous and Christ-like, and are still continuing to be more and more like Christ in their latter years, and something to respect. I do think it's also good that it says the glory of young men is their strength. So it's not saying that there's nothing good about being young. It's not that there's anything wrong with being young. That it has its dangers. It has its we lack wisdom when we're younger. We lack maturity, and so. But there are good things there as well, and it's for young people to use what they have for God. Whether that's even just their physical abilities and what they can do that perhaps older people can't do. I'm often stunned by things or amazed at what I can take for granted. Just simple little tasks, everyday tasks that I just do without thinking. And I realise when I speak to people who are perhaps older and who aren't physically as able as they were, that every little thing can be a challenge sometimes. And so it's not to take that for granted. And it's important for us to recognise that, unlike our culture, where you have even... you see this all the time, where you have people who are older, famous people, actors, actresses, musicians, whatever, who on their social media things, post themselves in these, types of clothing or whatever that, and in order to make themselves look younger and to get that feedback from their fans and get that assurance and that, don't you look great despite, and don't you look younger than you actually are. And actually what we can say as Christians is that it's a wonderful thing. For a Christian, we're thinking in that way, to have, in many ways, run that race or be in their latter days and have all that wisdom and spiritual maturity and holiness for the younger to learn from. And so we're not to despise it, and if anything, in a godly person, to see the grey hair as a good sign, hopefully a good symbol of what God has done in this person's life and how they can still be used for the Lord, despite being older and not being able to do certain things, but all that experience, all that maturity, all those years of walking with the Lord, using that in order to bless others and younger people, learning from them and learning from that as well. So I hope that's helpful to you, whatever your age or stage, whatever the colour of your hair, or whether you even have hair, I don't know, but whatever the case, just a good reminder for us and a counter-cultural word from the book of Proverbs.